My name is Minister Fred Whitlow. I am the founder and the owner of Stric'ly Jesus Inc., DBA Stric'ly Jesus Records, and where I'm also the founder and executive director for the nonprofit 501c3 public charity No More Dirty Incorporated.
Fred, uniquely for me, was a bridge between old people like me, because old people like me molded him. He grew up with tremendous mentors, the people who mentored me, who were powerful evangelists, activists, pastors, community workers, people who were mayors, who did tremendous things in the 70s and 80s. These were his models. So taking on their characteristics and their issues and themes, he rolled it into the way he would think. They could change the world, he could change the world. So he and his brothers were all engaged in that kind of piece. Plus, Fred had a gift. He believed in people. Even though he grew up in critical times, socially and whatnot, he really believed that people could be better. He saw, because of the way his parents taught him, that whatever you could put your mind to, you could gain. He did not think you could be failed. Even failure was the pathway to success. And so he didn't mind trying stuff. He would take a risk. If it didn't work out, he would check it off. This is one of the ways that you have to make sure don't do this again until he found a path that would work.
I saw what he was doing, and what I was doing was looking to really get a street ministry going. Everywhere I'd gone, there's a street ministry or a prison ministry of sorts. And usually it's somebody much older. You gotta remember this was 89 or 90. I've been trying to remember exactly when it was. And they reach and grab a young guy like that, but he was doing the work. He was already doing the work. And he was convincing young people to do it. So even though the little old ladies in the church are saying, Pastor, you gonna let him go up there in that green suit? I'd say, yeah, I'm gonna let him go. And the more freedom I gave him, the more he took. And we laughed, and we saw how it kind of like the church was a little shook up, but the work and the testimonies, because we would go out, just like anybody, and go from home to home, just say, we just want to pray with you. We're not asking for anything. We're not looking for a donation. We just would like to pray with you. And there were people who maybe had never gone to church before, but they believed from afar. And I remember Fred and I approached a guy one day, and he was working on his car, and he was greasy, and he looked like he really didn't want to be bothered. And before I could open my mouth, Fred took over. I just let him have it. And after a while, the man was looking at me and saying, help. Oh, man. But the bottom line was that he began to see that, the church cared, that God cared. And that was all the mission that we needed. He even asked for prayer for himself and his family and some other people that he knew. So, we saw success in various ways, but it was the most exciting, I guess, parts about it is that we fed the hungry for years over on Governor's Drive. We'd be there, and we started going to the prisons, peeping in and out. Fred and I, we said, look, we're going everywhere. There's no place that's out of bounds. And I watched his ministry grow and grow. And at one point, he had some logos on T-shirts, and the thing that just took me away is the genius that was behind it. We knew that it was going to draw young people, but we had no idea the impact that it would have. But he had pictures of God got your back, and then on the back of the shirt was this angel that looked like a power lifter. And he said, I got your back. But, as I said, I'm just amazed at what he's doing. And he hadn't gotten tired. He stays with it. And every time he calls, I'm going to be there. What happens is that guys who don't quite fit in, a lot of times people will dismiss it because we have this form of religion that takes us to places that excludes other people. Fred doesn't exclude anybody. Man, if you want to know about Jesus, ask Fred. He'll stop what he's doing and he'll take time to tell you. And I don't know how anybody can criticize that, but of course, you have your critics. But he and I kind of developed a thing way back in there and said, well, you know what? Thank you. I appreciate what you're saying, and let's keep it moving. And the love, hey, there's no reason to argue with anyone. The love is there. And I think that's what his ministry is based on. It's the love of Jesus that flows through him, that flows through the ministry. And even if you get it right or get it wrong, like the guy that had 3 drinks and he didn't get high, you get the love. And at some point you're gonna think back and say, you know what, I enjoyed how I felt. I enjoyed the experience. Must be something to it.
I'm not religious. Minister Fred, it was very quick when I started getting to know him, that because I'm very open, living in the Bible Belt, but it's I am who I am. And we have had many discussions about religion and different things that we disagree on. But for me, I don't have a problem with whatever your religion is. I'm very open to all of that. But if you're a hypocrite, that's not cool. And Fred, he is the personification of, he's not going to tell you what he believes, he's going to show you. He is the good person that you're supposed to be.
My thoughts about Fred when I first met him is that this guy is really funny.
I've known Fred, I'd say at least a good 10 years now.
I met Fred soon after he was here by way of Katrina.
In 1986, I came to Birmingham to pastor the South Park Seventh-day Adventist Church. His father and mother were members there, and his dad was one of the area salespersons for our church. They specialized in sharing health literature and other materials specifically for black people. Fred and his brothers were young, they were teenagers. And so they were teenagers in the church as I was their pastor. When they were little, they would go out with their dad in the streets, and they would meet people in the malls, meet people on the streets, and share that literature and encourage them.
It teaches him how to meet public, and of course, my husband was a Stric'ly when it comes to that. He would they would have to have classes. How do you meet people? How do you shake hands? You look them in the eye.
That's where Fred got his early connection with people. He loves people, all kinds of people from all kinds of backgrounds. And he learned in those early years how to confront people. He'd walk up on you, didn't know you at all, you're getting on your car at Kroger's. Good morning, my name is Fred Whitlow. Now this is what I'm about. And he would engage them and stuff and say, now here's a book that you need to read. And then they'd be captured because Red is 13, 12, his brothers are younger. And they were just amazed at how these young men were so articulate, not fearful, so engaging at an early age. And that became a pattern with Fred.
I met Minister Fred in 1990. Years ago, I was a youngster. He used to open up the gym outside of my community, Meadow Hills, on the north side. And I used to go up there and shoot basketball, late at night. He would open the gym up for the street guys, in the community. And I used to give him a hard time, man. I used to give Minister Fred Hell.
Fred and I met when I first came to Huntsville, and I was working at Alabama A&M Health and Wellness Center, and I had the opportunity to be able to do some collaborative efforts with him through bringing young people to the Wellness Center, as well as we've transitioned different community events like Cafe together. We worked in a kite festival together, and a lot of different events to really transform our community.
Well, Minister Fred, I knew Mr. Fred way long time ago, since I was in the 5th grade, around the time I was 11. He had just relocated from New Orleans, Hurricane Katrina, And I guess he just got the job at my school, Whitesburg Elementary, and he became my behavior ed specialist. So he had to follow me around from class to class, and he'd just be like my personal aide. And we just had a special bond from there. He'd just come pick me up on the weekends, and he'd let me go to church with him. Then he'd go back home to New Orleans, and he bought me my first LSU hat. So
I caused problems. You know, when I came in there, I would start fights, and you know, I was raised rough, so I would give him a hard time. But he stood his ground, and I respected him for that. You know, he always stood his ground, and he was always consistent with love. You know, he never got out of character or nothing. And I just saw that consistent in him and that love in him, and it kind of rattled me a little bit. Like, whoa, you know, this dude here is different. You know.
When I first met him, you know, I was a kid, so I was a stubborn-hearted kid. And, you know, he had his moments where I didn't want to listen, and he'd tell me something. You know, we had our little altercations going back and forth. But as a kid, I didn't really have no real male role model around me. So, like, that was the first real role model. And I kind of, like, from a distance, I respected him. And then when we moved on to Florida with my foster family, like, he knew my whole situation. I grew up in foster care. So then, like, I just, like, man, that was the only, like, person that really had my back, because then I had to go through situations after situations, and then I just relocated back to Huntsville, and crazy, that was the first person I came back to Huntsville to see was Minister Fred. That was the first person I came in contact with.
Oh, man, I met Fred, like, 25 years ago. And it was so funny because everybody was saying, hey, man, this dude just came up here on campus. I'm like, who is he? He said, man, he's sharp. He be rapping and stuff. I said, rapping? Yeah, he be rapping. I'm like, what type of rap is he? Gospel rap. This is very young. This is almost when rap wasn't even rap yet. And he went gospel. I said, no, man, no. So, I play sports, love playing sports. Fred was active too. He got a little play in him too. And so if you come to the gym, that's my territory. And that's where everything started. We joking, we laughing, we doing everything. And he walked up in there. Now he was just almost anxious to meet me as I was to meet him. And when we hit each other, bam, I'm like, oh, he was like, yeah, I heard about you. And I'm like, yeah, they call you Minister Fred, huh?
I met Brother Fred. Actually, I seen Brother Whitlow first. It was at WJAB. They were doing a spoken word poetry corner. And he came into the room, and I think I was on the mic at that time. I saw him briefly. He said his, Hays and farewells, and then he left. Later on, it was, I want to say that next year, I saw him at that same event. And he had gave me some good compliments on some of my spoken word pieces. And I want to say a year later, I ended up performing at one of his venues. So it was just like that.
I came to know Minister Fred at church in the early 2000s. Watching him over a period of time, I came to know that he was sincere in what he believed.
I met Minister Fred when he first opened the spot. And a friend of mine had recommended me to come out because what Fred was doing, he was into hip-hop ministry and the arts and poetry, spoken word and dance and the praise dance, the whole nine. And so I'm a huge arts lover, a proponent for all of it. And so I said, okay, well, I'll come out and definitely support Fred. So actually that's how I really, really met Fred, was through the opening, this grand opening of the spot.
I saw him at a show. So I went to his show and I reached out to him after the show because of the way, like, how he presented himself afterward the show. Like, he was very, like a lot of artists, we kind of let other people do like our presentation. We do the show, we go back in the green room, we don't show our face. We're all guilty for that. Fred, on the other hand, he actually came up and he, greeted everyone, and he sat at his table, his merch and everything. And so I looked at that and I was like, he's a genuine guy. So, I want to connect with people who are genuine like that. After 2007, we kind of built a rapport, and then we went on the road together around late 2007, all the way to the end of 2008-ish. You know, like just being on the road, especially with Minister Fred, is just a lot of jokes, you know. One thing I gotta say is that he grinds, like he is a workhorse. Like he will not only just drive, but he will go there and make sure everyone is, you know, has their needs met. You know, he'll make sure, for example, as a DJ, I would have more equipment than everyone else. So although, you know, it is my job to make sure everything is up to par, Mr. Fred will kind of come behind that and, you know, take on leadership and make sure that I have what I need. And, you know, so he's great for that, you know.
I recently moved to Alabama, and I had been exploring some studio spots and doing some work with other people in the industry. And I came across Minister Fred at a studio one day where he was working with an act, and we connected. So he gave me his card, I gave him a call, we talked business and shop. We were both on the same level when it came to just the community and being hip hop. He was a rapper, he had just put out his CD, and we just gelled. It was a match, and we came together. He invited me to the radio show, and the rest is history at that point. And it's probably been 6 or 7 months. So we've just came together, but the things that he's done has inspired me to just want to do more. And then the fact that he has invited me to co-host a radio show, it's a fantastic opportunity for myself, and I get a chance to help others.
I think I met him at one of the Huntsville Housing programs they were doing. It might have been the father one that they do. He does every year for fathers and kids and all that kind of stuff. And then after that, he led worship at our church several times. And so he and I just developed a relationship from there. It was fun. This was a church that started out on the campus of UAH, and then about 3 years in, we moved it right into the heart of the projects right there in 35805. So we were at the Oscar Mason Center. That's kind of where I started connecting with Fred. And so we asked him to come in and lead worship several times for us. It was beautiful. I mean, one of the first songs that I remember him doing was Trust and Obey. Because I grew up singing that, you know, in my Sunday school class, which is Trust and Obey, because there's no other way. And then Fred brought a whole new thing to it.
This song goes out to everybody that's really going through something that they're trying to figure out. Do I trust God? Is Yeshua the Christ really that deep? We're going to share, bro. Trust and obey. No other way to be happy in Jesus. Yeah. When we walk with the Lord in the light of His word, we will trust and
And what was beautiful about that song is, since I've known Fred 7-8 years now, he actually lives that out. He does trust Jesus, and he lives a life of obedience, which is beautiful.
Well, I met Minister Fred Whitlow in 2011. At the time, I was the spokesperson for Huntsville Police Department, and he was working with Huntsville Housing Authority with some youth initiatives, and because of my job working with the community, our paths just crossed naturally. And then I realized really quick that we both had a lot of synergy, a lot of energy, and we both cared about the community, so we became real good friends very, very early in trying to make a difference in this great community that we live in.
I first met Fred back in 89, 90. As it would be, I ended up being Fred's pastor. And after being there at the church for just a little while, kind of noticed Fred, you can't miss him. And he's the Pied Piper, the kids kind of flocked around him. And so I said, you know, first chance I got, I wanted to name some youth elders, and Fred was one of them. And we were both getting there at this church about the same time, so the people didn't know him either. But they knew him because he wore orange suits and and lime green suits with lime green shoes to match. And that didn't shock me because I'm from Memphis.
I was fired up, bro. I was like my favorite. I would not wear a tie because I thought that was like too old school, and that's why I had so much trouble. They was like, you can't be pastoring without a tie. Watch me, watch your boy. And so I stayed relevant by watching what was going on, and I said, Lord, help me to create a legacy.
I saw what he was doing, and what I was doing was looking to really get a street ministry going. Everywhere I'd gone, there's a street ministry or a prison ministry of sorts. And usually it's somebody much older. You got to remember this was 89 or 90. Been trying to remember exactly when it was. And they reach and grab a young guy like that, but he was doing the work. He was already doing the work. And he was convincing young people to do it. So even though the little old ladies in the church are saying, Pastor, you gonna let him go up there in that green suit? Yeah, I'm gonna let him go.
I was already working midnight basketball, and Fred got employment with the Huntsville Housing Authority, and we just kicked off a great relationship. He has a lot of energy, and I could really tell that his heart was into what he was trying to do for the community.
Me and Fred connection has nothing to do with music. It's about making a difference in the community. So that's how we always connected. I'm about community. I'm about making a difference in the lives of, especially our youth, making a difference in the lives of families. So you got somebody like Fred who don't shy away from that at all. I mean, that's part of what his purpose is.
Fred and I, we come from that background of loving music, loving rap. Rap used to be a positive message, and then it turned dark on us, and the church rebelled against it, and then we sought out gospel rap at its infancy, and that's where our relationship began.
I did meet him originally at One Stop Shop. When we started the AmeriCorps program, we had a 2-week training, and the managers had a lot of community leaders come in and introduce themselves so that we could get affiliated with everyone, like meet everyone that we would be dealing with throughout our year. And we met 3 people first from the Housing Authority, and Fred was one of those people. And then also the first thing that I really remember meeting him was the Youth Services Council. He is the president.
It has always been difficult, and the devil has always just slung darts and been really hard trying to stop this because he's dealing with kids. And when you're dealing with kids' lives and you're trying to change their lives and turn them around, stop them and turn them around, out of this lifestyle that they have, and they don't see a way out, and then their lives shift, and there's something that's new and different.
Fred came to me with his No More Dirty idea. Pastor Jones, let me bounce something off of you. Okay, Fred. And then he talked about how he was concerned about the moral level of young people and felt, hey, they can be better. My problem is that my generation was boxed into a certain way of communicating. What we wanted young people to be was what we were 30 years ago. And we tried to mold them into yesterday's models. Guess what? It wasn't working. And so since they wouldn't do what we asked them to do, the way we asked them to do, and they weren't listening to us, we tend to either pray for them or write them off. Fred had an ability to take the themes and the values in one generation and communicate in the language of the next generation. And I had not seen anybody that had that gift to be the bridge between yesterday and tomorrow at the same time. And so I said, go ahead, go for it. And so he went for it, and it worked. I said, wow. Fred came to my church. Pastor Jones, I'd like to use your church. We want to do a certain event. Now, Pastor Jones, we're going to have some rock music. We're going to do a hip-hop subject. You know about rap music, do you, Pastor Jones? No, Fred, I don't know about rap music. Well, Pastor Jones, this is gospel rap. Gospel rap? George, tell me, Fred, what's gospel and rapping? What do they have in common? Well, because I believed in Fred. I said, okay, Lord, I believe you got an anointing on Fred. I know my members believe in me. We're going to close our eyes, hold our nose, and hope they won't kill us when these kids come and we do gospel rap. The church was packed. Young people I would never be able to reach, black and white, showed up. And in his rap, he told them things that they would never listen if I said it.
Now let me hit you with 3 scriptures so you can be A to the O to the L to the Y. Have your own testimony, Psalms 37, 5 and 6. Commit your ways, trust in the G to the O to the D, and obey to Isaiah 50.
I was amazed. And he could go to city fathers and other people and say, you're trying to reach a community, but you have no platforms. You're trying to reach your people, but you don't speak their language. Give me your money, give me your support, and I can take what you want to do and get it done better. And he convinced that. And between his radio programs, between his other community engagement, he began to move around the city.
Well, I would say I've never met anyone as committed to this entire community. Although Minister Fred's may be known for his work within the lower income African American community, his work within the full Huntsville community is very admirable. He works with all walks of life to spread the gospel, as well as help lower income folks with opportunities to be successful here in the greater Huntsville area. His faith in what he believes in could have easily wavered here in this community because there's a lot of competing factors. And when you're trying to raise money to work and help other people, sometimes people want you to give up part of your soul to for their support. But he continued to believe in his faith, believe in his vision of one day having what he has today, the spot, No More Dirty, the building that we're in now. Also working with the youth in this community, giving them opportunities and information and networking so that they can rise above maybe their present circumstances. And Minister Fred, having survived Katrina and then moving here and basically with the clothes on his back and his faith, was able to be where he's at today. And I think God has brought us together and many other faith-believing people together to be a part of his support team. And just so proud of what he's done in this community. And a few years ago, I was able to recommend Minister Fred for being a businessman and entrepreneur in this community. And he was recognized by local TV station and the newspaper for making a difference. And of course, recently, as well as the Racial Harmony Award and things of that nature. And they're all well-deserved. I can't think of a person that better epitomizes working together, giving back to the community, and helping others succeed at his own expense, whether it be his own money, his own time, his own energy. And so I feel it a privilege to work alongside of him.
Well, we support what Fred is doing in the community because Fred is reaching a part of the community that a lot of people are not really paying attention to in ministry. And that's one of the features that I like about Fred. He's going after the youth, trying to get them to look for better expectations of themselves.
We've worked on several things, from midnight basketball to workforce development. Partners with me with our Huntsville Police Department, North Precinct Block Party. So we've worked on several things in this community. And Fred is the type of person who really has a true passion for what he does. He has a love for the community.
Fred he's kind of like a resource. He's a resource even for me. Fred do a lot in the community as far as his camps, and he have these awesome community events, and he's always, inviting us and inviting our guys, and he even worked with the kids in the foster care system as well, and I do too. We've hosted movie nights, here at the spot. I'll put it on the calendar for the foster kids, and we'll come here and spend a Saturday evening or Friday evening here and provide food and watch a movie, you know, just to get them out of the, you know, get them out of the house. So, I mean, when it comes to that, we have kindred spirits, and we more so been, although we may use each other for resources, he may call me for a resource, or I may call him because I need support.
Fred has a lot of community support. A lot of people have bought into what he's doing, and he may not have a large bank account, but he has resources in the community that he can go to.
Yeah, it's phenomenal. You know, they say that Father Time is undefeated, but Fred has had an ability to transcend generation after generation after generation and stay relevant. He has a unique ability to meet people where they're at, whether they're a young person going through some challenges or us in community trying to just make a difference. And Fred is always there to really be a leader, be a servant, and just really try to make a difference in our community.
He's great with the kids, like they just hear him. We have neighborhood kids that come over to our building because we're right there in Butler Terrace. So sometimes when the kids are out of school, they'll come over, and every once in a while he'll be there. Like in the beginning, when it first started, because I've only been here for a year, when it first started, it was summer. That was when the kids first started just like coming over just to say hi, just to see, you know, what was going on. And Fred just I was letting them come in with like, you know, it's summer, it's hot, so they didn't have a shirt on, maybe they didn't have shoes on or something. But Fred, the first time he came in, he was like, hey, man, no, this is a business. You're gonna have to show respect and blah, da, da, da. So, yeah. And then ever since, like he spoke to them one time, one kid, and there were like 5 or 6 kids that would come over, alternate like during the summer. And the word got around, like if you're gonna come over, you gotta have a shirt, you gotta have shoes. But yeah, the kids are great. He's great with the kids, yeah.
He's a good man. He's very firm, and he sticks to what he says, and I believe in like the goodness of him. He shows you the right things, you know. A lot of people don't have that in their lifetime. A lot of people don't have a role model, a male role model that's just like, nah, man, you don't supposed to do that, or nah, man, you don't say that like that, or this is how you do this, or if you need help with this, I can do this. A lot of people don't have that, and a lot of people want that and just don't know how to ask for that, and then when they get it, they just don't know how to accept it. He didn't quit. He don't give up on nobody. He's not nobody. And if he did, if you say he did, he didn't. It's just that you're bailing out on him. Since a little boy, like all the kids, you know, bad troublemakers in school, he'll round us all up. He'll sit there, talk to us, and try to have like little man time with us. And I think that's what attracted me, because, you know, I never really had nobody, so that's what gravitated me to him.
Well, like I said, you know, I just can't speak enough about Fred's realness. I had an opportunity to write a reference letter for him when he was in preparations to receive the Martin Luther King Community Service Award. I wrote it with great pride, and it was very easy. I have a lot of people come to me and they want reference letters and whatnot, but Fred's was very easy because it's just so much that he does, and the relationship that he and I have with one another, it's just real, and I'm very appreciative of being able to pick up the phone and call Fred and say, hey man, I've got such and such here in my office, they need help. Can you reach out and can you put some things together to help this individual be the best person that they can be? And Fred gets it done. He gets it done. So I'm thankful for a community partner like Fred Whitlow, what he does here at the spot, what he does not only just in North Huntsville, but what he does throughout this whole Huntsville community.
Last year was our 34th Martin Luther King Jr. celebration. We sponsor, Alpha Phi Alpha sponsors the Martin Luther King Jr. Unity Breakfast each year. And as I said, last year was our 34th year. And as a part of the celebration, it has been a tradition that we recognize 2 community supporters or 2 community citizens who have done things that we felt Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. did during his time. And last year, one of the recipients was Fred Whitlow. And the way you become a candidate or a nominee, someone in the community or someone in the fraternity has to recommend you or nominate you. And we get several nominations each year. And it has been also a tradition that one of those has been to a minority and one has been to a majority person. And last year, as I said, Fred Whitlow was the nominee and also the winner. And it was unusual because, as I said, most of the nominees or most of the recipients have been very well into what Dr. King was doing. Never in the history of the 34 years that we had done that last year had someone so young been a recipient. And that was the thing. And I'm not sure that, of course, I'm not in on the tallying and going through the documentations as presented to a committee. But when the committee came back to us prior to the breakfast to say, this is our recipient. And when we looked at his resume, we looked at the documentation of the things that he had done, it was overwhelming to us that someone as young as Fred could do all the things that he had done. And we were just elated and just so proud of what he does in the Huntsville community.
If he's hurting, if it's something, you're not going to really tell it. He's not going to show it. He don't wear those type of emotions on his sleeve. And no, that's not him. Fred is more of a man, a person that will just say, you know what? I just got to pull it up. I got to suck it up. And I got to do it. He's a man's man. You know, he ain't got no chump in him or nothing. He's a straight up dude that's about business. If he can't make it here, he's going to try to make it somewhere else. He's going to try to do it somewhere else to get what he needs to get.
I'll say this, I didn't know Fred prior to Katrina. But I would imagine that Fred is probably pretty much the same dude that he was before Katrina when it comes to the character aspect. You know, I think that, like I say, he's a positive dude, he's optimistic. So because of Katrina, you know, he just found himself in a situation that this has happened. So what am I going to do about it? You know, some things you can't worry about that you can't change. You just make the best of it. You know, so him being that optimistic guy that we talk about, you know, so he relocated. So now I'm going to make a decision. I'm going to stay here. So what is it that we're going to do? I'm not even sure if that platform, what happened during Katrina, it just gave him another testimony.
His whole life has been given, his lifeblood, his money. He had no money. And every job he would get, he would put right back in the ministry. He would put a little aside to try and live. And then he was homeless. Literally, from Hurricane Katrina had just destroyed everything. God blew him this way. I said, he literally blew him to North Alabama with nothing, zero. And he restarted his ministry in a whole new direction. And in the midst of that, when he had nothing, he would give his last bit to others.
We don't need any more analysis of yesterday. We need somebody who can look at darkness and say, here's a flashlight. And say, we can make a difference and make tomorrow much brighter. Fred has that ability to see into the future and say, ha ha, things are not getting worse. Things are getting better.
So about 8 years ago, my wife Joy and I felt God's nudge to move into a neighborhood that was forgotten. And so we bought a $9,000 house and we fixed it up a lot and moved in. And not too long after, we found out that Fred was in love with the same neighborhood. So we found out that we cared about the same people and bore the same kind of heart for Jesus. We were both PKs, as it turns out, and so we got to know each other, and then kind of a cool thing happened. There was a point where he said, you know what? I want to do what you're doing. I want to move in. So he moved in next door to us, and so he's my next door neighbor, and just had the privilege and blessing of just a lot of conversations. We'll sit out on my front porch and just talk about what God's doing in our lives, what's on his heart for the neighborhood and beyond, what he's doing with housing, but then what he's just doing in terms of Smart Camp and No More Dirty and the things he's doing, and just kind of talking about where we struggle, where we need God's help, where we need each other's help, pray for each other, that kind of stuff. So, never knew when we moved in that I'd have the grace of a friendship like his, and it's been great.
Fred is one of many, but he's a leader in this, and is helping transform and bring North Huntsville back to the vibrant community that it has been, and it will continue to be. But it's going to continue to take people like Fred and many others who are working toward the same goal of making Huntsville be the best city that it can be, an inclusive city for everyone.
What's funny is, and I think both he and I would say this, I grew up and my world was very white, too white, way too white. And there was then a lot of ignorance and prejudice and biases. And there were narratives I believed. I didn't know it. And we've talked enough for Fred to say the same thing to me, Grew up in a very different world. And, we've helped each other to understand our white and black brothers, and he's just ended up then helping me see a different view of the world, but to see someone who loves Jesus just like I do and grew up, actually both of us in pastors' homes, actually found out that went through a lot of the same struggles, a lot of the same issues, battled a lot of the same things, and found out our lives were so much more similar than we would have thought. And, he'd say what I'd say is my understanding of the heart of God for all nations and all people is far higher than before we met. And he's told me, I've been able to have that same kind of impact in a way. So, boy, what a grace it is that God brought us together.
Roger lives from a whole different narrative. In other words, I grew up in the same household that Roger did. And like he said, we grew up with a certain kind of narrative and a very narrow worldview on a lot of fronts. Fred has forever changed that for my brother. And he's forever changed that for me. Again, when you grow up in a world that is almost 99.9% white and middle class or affluent, and then you move into a whole new area and you begin to interact with a whole different group of people, it radically changes you. And for my brother, I think it's made him much more aware of the difficulties involved in doing racial reconciliation in any city, in any culture. Fred is committed to that, Roger's committed to that. To watch them work together on that front has been beautiful.
I've learned in the church there is a great deal of segregation. And, I didn't realize how much. And what I didn't realize is how impoverished I was because I didn't know the heart of my black brothers and sisters. And so my understanding of Jesus, my understanding of walking with God, my appreciation for music and art and the good gifts that God has given us has been enhanced significantly from walking with another brother who I know took a risk to trust me, because he's had a lot of interactions with white folks that weren't pretty and that I ache for, and but trusted me and shared deep parts of his story and just helped broaden my own trust in other people
Fred doesn't just believe certain things about Jesus. You know, it's not like he believes, here's 7 Bible facts about Jesus. He believes that Jesus is the Son of God, that he is the way, the truth, and the life, and that we're to obey everything that Jesus commanded. Well, Fred actually does that. There's a lot of Christians that claim certain kinds of belief in Jesus, but Fred actually does it. I mean, if Fred hears a word from God that he senses Jesus is calling him into something, he's going to do it every time. When the church was outside the projects there at Oscar Mason and Sparkman Homes, it was 99% white, and it was pretty much middle class and affluent white. So when we moved into that whole new vulnerable area that Fred and my brother live in, it changed the whole look of the church. Within 6 months, we became a very, very different kind of church. Black, white, Hispanic, much smaller church. There was a lot of people that could not make that move. What was going through my head is, what have I done? I mean, I was so, you have to understand, I was so far out of my element. I had always been either a lead pastor or a teaching pastor at largely white, upper middle class or affluent churches. So to take a church that we had started 3 years earlier and move it into a very diverse area and an economically vulnerable area.
The church it just started growing. Now it was a combination of what they were doing plus the urban stuff I was doing. And then we began to walk the neighborhood. So we would put flyers, knock on it, and then start praying with everybody in Mason Court. And say, hey, come on over Sunday afternoon, we pray with you. Now people going through all kinds of stuff. They didn't come to the church initially, they would come for prayer. But then they became our friends, and we became their friends. Then they started coming to the building, church house. Then they started saying, hey man, why don't you do a block party out here, man? We'll buy the popcorn, we got food stamps, we got, I mean, like, when I say everybody chipped in, EBT, business owners, corporations, that little church was the talk, and it still is doing great things in this community. And so, you know, of course, Sparkman Home is coming down, so they're not in there, but they're now a communicative church, and they meet in another building right across the street in Cornerstone Initiative. That's where they meet. And still, it's boots on the ground. And so that's what my partnership with them was. And actually, man, I was all the way in. I'm still in. You know, I just now kind of assist in what area because I'm doing the session. And so then they support the session with their time, resources, and their influence. And that's the gospel. The Church of Acts grew because they came together, met the needs, whatever was going on in the family, in the community, because the community is the family, you meet the need.
It was the most difficult and beautiful thing I've ever watched. You know, in other words, I talked to other friends and other pastors that say, hey, we'd love for our church to be more diverse. And I said, well, you need to understand this. It's a costly endeavor, and it's an awkward endeavor. In other words, there's all sorts of awkward moments. When cultures come together in an environment where everyone's a little bit uncomfortable, it's just awkward sometimes. And I still say some things I'm like, oh, I probably shouldn't have said that. But if you'll break through the awkwardness, you know, if you'll be patient with the process and you'll get through the awkwardness, on the other side, there is beauty. There is the kingdom of heaven. And the most incredible thing, when I watched what happened with our church moving into Huntsville housing and that whole area, is the most amazing thing wasn't just the racial diversity that began to happen. It was the economic diversity. I mean, we literally had single moms that lived up in Governor's Bend, which is a very white, affluent area, and we would have ladies, single moms from the projects that would be going up to them, to their houses for a baby shower. But we'd also have a baby shower for this young lady that was right there in Sparkman Homes, and we'd have our ladies from Governor's Bend coming down and being in that, and there was no sense of tear, there was only a sense of peer. And to me, that was the most beautiful thing, that there was no more a system of tier based on education or economics or ethnicity. It was purely the love of Jesus Christ expressed. We are all in this thing together. We learn from each other. It really was one of the most beautiful seasons of my life. Fred was a champion for it. So Fred may have even thought, you know, I was a little out of my mind when we started talking about doing this, but he was a champion for that. He always said, anything I can do to help. And of course, I started connecting with him on some of the work that he was doing with Huntsville Housing. But then he would come in and help us in a number of ways. He brought in a number of special speakers, soloists. In addition to him leading worship, he would bring other folks in. And so it created a sense for me of comfort knowing that I had someone else who understood a different culture that could teach all of us a way to embrace sometimes the uncomfortableness of multiple cultures coming together. And I learned so much from watching Fred do that and do that well.
I've watched Fred enough, and I've seen he doesn't treat me different, doesn't treat people differently. Our neighborhood is diverse, and we've got Vietnamese, and we've got Hispanic, and white, and black, and I'll watch his interactions with people, and it just doesn't change.
He really does treat everyone the same. So I found that I learned a lot and still learn a lot from Fred, watching him interact with others and love other people well, even though they're very different than him.
In so many ways, he ends up being a bridge builder. And, you know, there's a bridge builder even in the black community, where between sort of, okay, there's the hip hop music and whatever, and traditional, and he's seen both sides of it. You know, he's been on both sides, kind of grew up, dad, traditional, whatever. So he knows the whole story, he knows, you know, some of the Oakwood side, but he knows the street and the hip hop, and I see him as a bridge builder there. Genres of music, some which we might say are typically white or typically black, he crosses those boundaries. And so I think he's ended up through music and relationships bringing very diverse people and ages together. Yeah, and I think that's, the impact there has been significant.
Well, when you rack with pain, unwarranted spaces, crazy lanes, here's the deal. Know that the light will come when you boldly speak and call his name. Yeshua. For me, it was Katrina B. But he said to me, yo, I love you. I understand it's a different normal, but I'm still here.
When I was young, boy, you're a love son.
I'm a writer and a speaker, and that's a part of what I do. And so I've written a lot more blogs, for instance, on race issues. And so I can talk about the Exonerated Five and that story in ways, and I know far more black history than I knew, and I'm able to see. So I have been able to write pieces on police injustice and other kinds of issues, and even a recent issue blog that I did. I had a family member, very close family member, contact me back, and there was some pushback, but it created a great opportunity because this person's teachable, and they were just kind of raising the question, well, you know, I don't see racism in our family, and I was able to unpack, you know what, how I've been able to see racism isn't just this, oh, I hate people, you know, of a different skin color, don't look like me, or I don't think we're equal, or something. No, they're far more subtle, where I'm believing the best about people who look like me. I'm believing the stories and narratives that look the best for people like me. And, you know, it was a very profitable conversation, but I'm having a lot more conversations like that that have been good for me because I still don't have it all figured out. I'm still saying screwy things. I still believe narratives and pieces of the story that are flawed. But people like Fred, and I've got others, has just been gracious and, again, trusted me in ways that I don't know that I even merit. But it's, yeah, and I feel like that's part of what God has given me then is I have to be a steward for what I know now that I didn't know for 45, 50 years of my life. And it has opened up a lot of conversations, and I can speak more credibly for the kinds of long-term relationships that I've had with someone like Fred and some other friends of ours. Yeah. He challenges me. I can tend to play it safe, and I look at someone when he has a heart for something, he believes that God has spoken, whatever. I'm going to be sitting there, okay, no, we got to come up with a plan. We got to figure this out. We got to come up with every kind of thing that could go wrong. We could kind of do this and what could, and I'll watch Fred and he'll get a vision, a heart, whatever. And he said, let's just do this thing. We don't have to have every single part of it figured out. And I guess there's this part of me that can play it safe, try and he'll just step out. He just steps out, and I think I'm more likely now than ever before to, okay, if God's leading in this, don't, because sometimes trying to figure it all out is a way of making sure I won't make a mistake, I won't look bad. Fred's not worried about that. And I'm less that way than I was.
Fred, more than anyone else, has inspired me to be obedient and to focus on obedience, not on outcomes. Fred, here's what I mean by that. If God speaks to Fred about doing something, he's going to do it whether there's 5 people involved or 5,000 people involved. He is not a respecter of persons. You know, our world says that impact is gauged by how many people show up. Fred just doesn't live that out. If 2 people listen to his radio station or 200,000 listen to him on his radio station, Fred's going to be there, he's going to be obedient, he's going to always show up, and he's going to always deliver a word from the Lord. So the way that he's impacted me the most spiritually is I watch a life of obedience that is focused on obedience, not on outcomes. It's really extraordinary.
Fred is a drum major. Fred is the guy that stands up front, even though he doesn't like to be up front. He's always the behind the scenes kind of guy. But you can't run a band without a drum major. And so he's a drum major. He's the guy that beats the drum of injustice, that beats the drum of accountability, that beats the drum of young people and their responsibility, of leaders. He's a drum major. And people will remember the impact that in the short time that we all have in life, in the short time that he's been here in Huntsville, whether 30, 40, 50, 60 years, he has made an impact in young people, in accountability, in ministry, in holding people to the plow and making change. That's the biggest part. Biggest part is, we do all this, but what has been the change? Well, the change has been souls have been won. The change has been that a voice has been heard in the wilderness. The change has been that somebody came to know Jesus and know God, and lives have been changed as a result of Minister Fred.
The impact that Mr. Fred has had on me is significant in just the sense that I came to him looking for some sort of small opportunity, some side situation where I could maybe help him hand out food or help him, find donations for somebody. And then the next thing you know, I'm on the radio talking to 200,000 people each week. And so it's been a huge impact. He's given me the opportunity to share the things that I think will help people on a scale that I never really envisioned before. And he's also shown me through his persistence and through his particular how he continues on no matter what, how he pushes through no matter what. He's shown me that if I want something, if I want to make true impact, that's the same thing I'm going to have to do. And of course it shows, because now we're talking about 3 decades now of what he's done and how he's been able to do that. So I'd like, at some point to say that I've been in ministry that long and been working towards the community that long or longer. So he's really shown me the path to doing that.
Oh my gosh, he's had so many impacts on the community. He works with the youth. I mean, he's a role model for them. He's leading them to God. He's a mentor to them. Involved in everything that he can be involved in. It amazes me at the energy and the time. It's like, when do you sleep? I mean, he wants to be out there doing everything for the community.
The voiceless wouldn't be represented without Fred. Fred has the ability to really, the people that are kind of lost or people don't really heard from, he has an ability to really make sure that they're represented in all different areas. Fred is consistent. He's a person who believes in community, no matter what area he is in, and our community to be worse off without him.
Now, he works for the Housing Authority. My wife works there also. Some of my members work there. And so as he moved from place to place, he won the credibility of people who didn't have opportunity. Fred had a way of saying to them, this is not your end story. this is your launching story. And let me show you how to launch from where you are to where I landed. Because Fred started, and his family started in a similar area where they knew what poverty was, they knew what stress was, they could identify where people were. So he didn't say, do as I say, because I read a book. And in my book, they say go 1, 2, 3. He says, let me show you what happened to me. Let me walk you through into your future.
They are me, but they haven't recovered or found their purpose. I found mine in a dorm room. And I experienced it when I was on the block in Mason Court when it had 2 exits. When cats roll in, drop the dope off, broad daylight, be like, what? Butler Terrace, Meadow Hills, roll up, crack house, pimp house, church house. But I realized I was them, but I'm recovered, or I have a purpose to live, and I know Jesus loves me so much, that ain't worth it. So I was like, every time I saw someone, I saw that could have been me if someone didn't tell me.
I think he had a strong impact because he taught me what a man was supposed to be. And like at the time, like I said, I grew up in foster care. I didn't know my dad. So like with me having the same 2 names, Frederick, first name Frederick, a lot of kids was like, hey, is that your dad? But I was like, nah. But then it just come to realize like, I started learning little things about him, and he just taught me a lot as a young man.
It blows my mind because, it's one thing to say, God, make me whole. It's one thing to say, I'm going to get my education. It's one thing to say, how can I put it? This is a deep question. You just hit me with something deep. It's one thing to say, God can do all things and he's able to do exceedingly much. But it's another thing to look at a person where they weren't that at all. And then they say, man, you didn't give up on me. Then I'm toe up. I'm so messed up. I got to put on that face. Okay. All right, man, love you too, bro. Back up off me, because I'm about to drip. I'm about to drip. And I ain't talking about money. I'm about to drip. Tear, drip, 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 drip. And then I know that God is real, because I'm just a guy.
There's a legacy that I don't think he'll even know. I don't think we'll ever know everyone who's been impacted until Jesus comes.
I think his impact is love, because a lot of people don't have love around here. He sticks with you. If you don't have nobody, or nobody gonna answer their phone, Minister Fred answer that phone for you. He'll sit there, he'll listen to you, he'll talk to you. If you need somebody, a shoulder to cry on, he'll sit there, he'll understand. He's just very humble.
I think this impact is a ripple effect, where into all the world, and I don't know if we'll ever really know until Jesus tells us, but that impact has been huge. For 30 years, you've been doing this, you've been talking about this, you've been living this, you've been on the front lines.
The radio show it's on WEUP here. It's the hip hop and R&B radio show. It's a genre that's been out for, I guess, maybe since the time of the inception of hip hop, like the 70s. The difference came in was where they're rapping same way like how they rap on mainstream. The only difference is that the element of God is put into rap. So that's the message behind gospel hip hop. The content for the show is Christian rap, gospel rap, inspirational songs.
I realized that for urban culture, hip hop was the voice. And back in the day with Sugar Hill and all of that, you had to have a poet or a rapper, you had to have a rhyme, you had to have a b-boy, you had to have a DJ, and you had to have a mic. And so it was all about expressing what you were feeling in that moment and whether it was right or wrong. So I realized that all through life, When you're just having a conversation, you're a poet. When you're rapping, you're taking rhythm and rhyme and you're adding rhyme schemes and all of that kind of stuff on top of a beat. That's hip hop, or it's rap on the West Coast. And so I realized that this is the communicative language for our people and for culture. And now all kids do it. Black, white, Asian, and whatever. It is the #1 selling component. It's hip hop with the music. It is. And so before the world and even the record labels understood that, because they didn't want to touch hip hop back in the day, but when they realized that, they capitalized on it for the negative. And I said, you know what? God said, let everything you do be done to the honor and glory of God. Whatsoever things are pure, just, true, kind, Philippians 4:8. You can't get to I can do all things if you ain't doing pure, just, true, kind, lovely, of good report. If there's a good report, think on these things, do it. And then God says, I'll give you desires of your heart.
He's super passionate about it, and that's a wonderful thing because, when you find something that you're passionate about, nobody's going to stop you. Nobody's going to stop you, so he's a character.
Fred has had some TV shows, radio shows, and he's grown, but his passion is, but all of it has been about trying to reach people, bring people to Christ, or do he can to help the community and help youth, and he just keep elevating, as each year goes on. He's very persistent and he works hard at it.
And in everything that he does, just like with his Christian hip hop music, he wants to get the word of Jesus out there.
God is good, all the time, every time. God is good. Even when you find yourself the only Christian name in society. That's real. Cause God is good. Even if you have no money, God is good. He's teaching us to walk by faith and not by sight.
And so Fred's contributions to Huntsville and to this area and to the music area, it's still going to be determined. I think he's still writing his future. His legacy is yet to, his true legacy to me is yet to come. But I believe when people start talking about, in my opinion, as far as music goes, you're going to have to sit here and recognize Fred as a pioneer as far as Christian hip hop. I'm going to say in the South, because I don't consider myself ignorant to music, and I just can't think of a lot of people Southern-based that have been doing what Fred's been doing. Now I know now it's commonplace. It's very, very commonplace, but you're talking about a guy, 25, 30 years in the game. Fred's been doing this for a long time. It's been mentioned on cassettes. If Fred probably could have done it, he'd have 8 tracks and records and all that stuff as well. He's been doing it for quite a while, so I believe Brother Fred's legacy is still getting written every day.
I watched it develop, and I was as excited as he was, because I knew that as long as it was under Fred's tutelage, this is going to be strictly Jesus. Everybody's not going to agree, but it's going to be strictly Jesus. And with that, I'll back him up every time.
I guess you can say what you see is what you get. Very talkative. So he's a friendly person. He's a very friendly person. He doesn't meet strangers.
Minister Fred Whitlow is amazing. And I chose the word amazing because of the heart that he has for others. To me, he has been a gift from God. He has touched my life in so many ways, and as I have seen him do with others.
Minister Fred is God sent. God sent him for a particular task to be done here in Alabama.
Minister Fred is authentic. I say that due to him holding my feet to the fire numerous amounts of times, whether if it's my music, whether if it's cleaning up some of my music, even with personal lifestyle choices that I've chose to take. And of course, he'll tell you, of course, you're gonna do what you do, you're your own individual, but just the fact that he said it. A lot of people are scared to be blunt with individuals like that and be consistent with that.
Minister Fred is dedicated. And the reason why I chose that word is if you're going to do anything worth doing, that you're going to put your name on, you need to be completely dedicated to that thing, not wavering anyway, not giving up anyway, not letting anybody push you or pull you in any direction. And he is that dedicated.
Minister Fred is energetic. It's like he has boundless energy, but it's a blessing because he directs it in the right thing. Every time I talk to him, he's talking about some proposal he turned into some place. I'm like, I don't understand how you're doing all these proposals. You're still working, 40, 50, 60 hours at your job. You have recording you're doing for yourself. You're recording other people. Like he just has boundless energy if it's in the right direction. It's very rarely is it selfish. He's not just trying to build some company so he can be a billionaire or a millionaire. He's doing it so that others can be benefited as well. And so he takes that energy and uses it in a good way.
He was real about what he believed. And he knew why God had him here. And I said, it was never to be sanctioned by a church. This is for them.
Inspiration. The reason why I chose that word is because I constantly see him inspire others. Myself, the youth, and everyone around him seems to be inspired to do good things.
Minister Fred is all in, hyphenated, one word I'm gonna let. He's Jesus freak, so he's all in on Jesus. He's not gonna do purity halfway. He's not. Now he'll be honest about his struggles, whatever. He's not going to tell you. When I say he's not, I'm a perfect guy, but where he struggles, we'll talk about it. We'll hold each other accountable. We'll challenge each other. But he's Jesus freak. He's 100% all in everything that he does. He's all in on relationships. So I mean, if he when he's reaching out to you, when he's talking to you, you're that person. He's in. He's going to believe in you. He's going to stay with you. Now, he's going to say, you got to pull your side. I can't do for you what you got to decide to do for yourself. But if you're willing to take a step, I'm all in on you. So I would say just whatever he's going to, Jesus, other people, if he's going to go on a project, he's going to be all in. Again, he's going to be the cleanup. He's not looking for the accolades and the platform and the trophies. He's just all in on what we're doing and where we're going. So I'd say all in.
One word, Minister Fred, is motivation to me. I choose the word motivation because a lot of times we find ourselves in so much of a rut, it's hard to even move, want to do what's right, want to handle business. But Fred motivate, hey, take care of what you need to take care of, and rest assured God will carry you over.
Tenacious. That's the word that comes to mind first. He stays at it. If this doesn't work here, he'll go to plan B. If plan B doesn't work here, he'll say, okay, let's reevaluate. Let's go to plan C. He's very tenacious, so he consistently goes after what he wants until he reaches the end goal, and that is something to admire in any leader,
Fred is someone who's very encouraging for me. He even made me reflect on myself. It makes me want to be more optimistic and more positive and a good mood, most of the time. Because I'm like, dude, do you ever have a bad day? You always on 10, which is great, and it's contagious. And that kind of energy should be contagious, and it needs to be contagious. And we need to have more people who have that kind of attitude. And if you're doing the kind of work that he does, I think that we need to be.
Minister Fred is a hero. He's a hero. The work that he's done and the contributions that he's made and the sacrifice he's made. I've been here with Fred when everyone else has left and we've had to clean up and and I know he's tired. I know he wants to go and I've had to, Fred, man, we'll come back tomorrow and do this, man. Let's just go. Fred wants it done right then. It's his drive and his determination and his love for everything to be a certain way that I admire. So I think he's a hero to this community. He's going to be one of those people when you start talking about Huntsville legends and people who have made an imprint on the community. It's definitely Fred. And I can definitely say, as far as North Huntsville goes, yeah, he's a true hero for North Huntsville. He's a true cheerleader for North Huntsville. When we don't always have people leading the charge for North Huntsville, Fred is definitely one of them.
As a pastor, I've met thousands of people. I worked with all kinds of programs, but I've only met one Fred Whitlow, and that nothing made him lose his hope. Nothing has made him yet give up. He is just as excited about changing people's lives now as he was at 14 and 15 when I met him. I talk about him. I said, now, Fred, you're still 18, but I know you're really an old man in young man's clothes. And he just laughs and goes on. And he continues to do the impossible over and over and over again. If I could just get me 4 or 5 more Freds, I could change the world.
I walk away with fulfillment and peace of mind. Fulfillment that I've done what God has called me to do. Paul said I've run the race. I'm not done, but I'm running the race. 1, 2, fulfillment that what he started in me, he will continue to the end. This is just the evolution. I'm not done, folk. I'm not done. I'm not done.
Minister Fred, I done told you this 1,000 times, and I'm gonna tell you again 1,001. I'm sorry for giving you a hard time when I was a kid, but I love you, bro, from the bottom of my heart.
Minister Fred, you've been a great minister, a great brother, a great friend, and it's a privilege and an honor to work with you. You inspire me, even this old broken down soldier. You inspire me to continue to be the best that I can be for the name of the Lord here in this community. And I just want to exhort you to continue to do what you do. You affect more people than you could ever possibly imagine. God bless you and thank you for being you.
Minister Fred, if there's one thing that I could say to you, it's that you are a true blessing from God. You're my angel. You have helped me through so many things. You was there for me when I first came to this community. You've led me to so many people. You've been a true blessing to my daughter, my grandson, me, and I love you from the bottom of my heart.
Thank you for being dedicated and committed to serving the Lord no matter what comes, no matter what happens. No matter who says anything, you are grounded in it, and I appreciate that in you.
My man Fred, we go far back, man, and you have been a role model, you have been a friend, you have simply been someone that I have looked up to, and I want to appreciate you. I want to affirm you again, your ministry. I want to affirm you as a man. I want to affirm the work that you have done. And I know that whatever words that I have said pale in comparison to the anointing that God has placed upon your heart and upon your life. And so I thank you for your work. I thank you for your friendship. I thank you for all that you do. And I know that even today there's still more that God has for you to do until the time that he tells you to lay down your sword. Until then, I'm with you. Let's do it, and let's win some souls for the kingdom.
Minister Fred, I am just glad that we crossed paths that time. You know, that one day where I was looking for something and God had already put on my heart that you were the person who had that opportunity. I never imagined this is where we'd be at this point in time, but I am privileged to walk beside you. You're the one who has the vision. God has given you people that you'd like to impact and methods to do it. And I am happy to be a part of the ministry and the paths that you're creating. I know that long after you're gone and long after I'm gone, there will be on record, online, videotapes and of all the things that we've done and all the messages we've tried to share with other people. And so now for hundreds of years to come, it will be available for people to grow, develop, and learn more about God as well. So I appreciate you for that. Thank you for your patience with me and guiding me and teaching me the ways. Now I know which side the headphone wire is supposed to come out and all the other things that you've been patient with me on this journey. And I look forward to 30 more years in working with you.
Frederick Whitlow, you know you're my boy. And we go back a long ways. And I'm really proud of you. I'm really glad that I've had a chance to be a part of this, that you made me do some things that I was uncomfortable with and that I was like, I don't know about this. And how still now, it's a phone call, Vic, what's up? And we'll talk, and it's an encouragement to me in my life to keep going. And I appreciate you so much. I appreciate your ministry. I appreciate what you're doing for God, and that you have never given up. So don't ever give up. Don't you ever, never give up. Keep grinding for truth.
Minister Fred, my man, I just want to say congratulations on all of the things that you have doing for the community, for me and this others, man. You have been such a blessing in my life and helped me in a lot of things. And I want to say, bruh, you just continue on being who you are. You never stop believing in what you're doing. And you always keep that mark moving forward. So, bruh, I love you, baby. I love you. All right? Peace.
What's going on, Fred? You know me, it's Marcus. What's going on, brother? When I met you several years ago, it was one of those relationships that's grown, where I definitely consider you a family member, a brother, and just know from the bottom of my heart, I appreciate everything that you've done for me, everything that you've done for your community. You are a shining example to so many people. Keep on doing it. Don't get discouraged. Do not get discouraged. There's going to be naysayers. There's going to be people who are going to say something negative. There's going to be people who are going to be crabs in the barrel. That's life, right? But you're one of the toughest brothers I know. You're on a mission. You got a ministry. You got your music. Let's keep doing it, brother. I love you. Peace.
Minister Fred, I want to thank you for helping me out, bringing me into the No More Dirty family, showing me around Alabama all the good things, community. I just want to thank you for the inspiration that you've given me, the inspiration that you've given others. Keep on doing what you do. The sky's the limit when it comes to the No More Dirty show and the community that you give your all to. Big 2 thumbs up, Minister Fred, and thank you again.
Fred Lowe. We are PKs. We're juniors. I know you're a 2. I'm okay with the term junior. And one of the biggest graces of my life is God bringing you to me as a friend. I appreciate the trust you've put in me, how you've believed in me. I appreciate the things that you've shared, the ways that you have challenged me. And I want to tell you, well done. One day Jesus is going to tell you that, but I want to tell you right now, well done. Loving people, bridge builder, being an example for people to follow, not just talking about Jesus, but living the way of Jesus, all in. I love you and look forward to loving on our neighborhood more.
Mr. Fred, too. It's your boy DJ Cinderhand, man. I just want to say thank you. You provided a lot of opportunities for me. I would have done anything, but you showed me the best thing to do and gave me a chance to decide. And I also appreciate you showing me every idea, and if it's worthy, pray on it before you move on it. Because, hey, God is real, God is amazing, and God is good. Thank you, Mr. Fred.
Fred, man, the way you encourage everyone else, man, I just want to encourage you to keep doing what you're doing, man. Continue to stay positive. You've already proven that through life's ups and downs, you know, you're a soldier, you're a warrior. But we want to let you know that people like me, I care about you, I'm here for you. So when you do have those low moments and you don't feel like being the energy bunny, as somebody called you earlier, you know, you can always reach out. Know that you always have, you know, a safe place here, man, as a friend, forever, man.
Fred, my brother, just continue to do your thing. We're fortunate to have you in our community. We're fortunate to have you to just continue to make a difference in my life personally, but also in a lot of people's lives you touch on a day-to-day basis. And just don't grow weary in well-doing, as you're a great man, and doing some great things, and I'm just honored to know you.
You are showing what God has given you the talents to do. What you're doing is just what we need to do. I just wish so many other people could join in and help you do those kinds of things. But I know that God has you on his back, and he will do whatever you need for you to continue to do the wonderful things that you're doing in Madison County and Huntsville.
Thank you very much for all that you have done for me personally. Thank you for what you're doing in the community. Thank you for what you're doing for the country worldwide. And, you know, keep staying at it, keep prayerful, keep hopeful, and we'll see how it is in glory.
Fred, I ask that you continue to be the man that God has ordained you to be. He definitely has a calling on your life. Remember, like we always talk about, stay on mission. Don't get caught up with the noise in the background, but stay on mission, being who you are, working in this community, and to God be the glory.
Fred, I'm laughing. I'm sitting there thinking about the times when you showed up in the green suit and those poor little old ladies said, don't let him go up there. And I know that you are oblivious to all of that kind of stuff and you're moving forward. And I think God is going to continue to bless you just as he has. God bless you, my friend. I love you.
Minister Fred, man, you know it's nothing but love. I love you. It's just, you taught me more than what an average person would think you know. You show love, you show respect, you show loyalty, and that's all the above from you. And I love you from the bottom of my heart to the top, because you know, from nowhere, you know where I came from. Don't nobody else know about my situation. You know my situation, and I love you.
Fred, keep doing what you're doing. You're awesome. He already knows that. I tell him that all the time. But yeah, that's it.
Fred, I've known you for almost 40 years. I want to say to you, one, I love you. And Fred, I want to say to you, you're my hero now. You have become greater than I thought you could be. And you're making a difference. You just keep on making a difference. And whatever I can do as your brother, as your friend, as someone who's been a part of your family for these years, you've got that. You've been a blessing to me. I'm thankful that the Lord has brought you into my life. You keep on keeping on. Maybe God will show you some young person who's the next Fred Whitlow.